that it feels like a very dynamic entrepreneurial business that's part of something much bigger. And I think that's really rare to find that mix of the being able to be that dynamic and agile whilst being part of something really well established as well.
Have you ever been scrolling through your phone and an advertisement pops up? And that advertisement was a thought, a private thought that you had to yourself yesterday and you have no idea why it's now on your phone. Meet Shelley, part of Advito, the consulting arm of BCD Travel. On today's episode, we explore data mining, information, influence, and how those marketers have figured out a way to get onto your cell phone through your brain.
Data will tell you that a tomato is a fruit, but insight will tell you not to put it in a fruit salad.
Welcome back to another episode of A World of BCD. This week we have our very first guest from the Advito arm of BCD Travel. Shelley, welcome to the show this week.
Thank you very much, Chica. I'm delighted to be here, to be joining you. And I didn't realise I was the first Advito person, so I'm feeling very privileged to take on that role.
Very nice. And Shelley, where are you based? I hear a British accent, is that correct?
It is, yeah, it's a British accent, but I'm actually based in the Netherlands. I'm based in Amsterdam, and I've been out here for coming up to 18 months now, but from the UK originally.
Do you speak a lot of Dutch now?
I've just started lessons like 2 weeks ago, so all I can do is like count and ask people how they are, and really important things like know how to order a beer. So,
well, I'm sure that all of our Dutch listeners can attest to that. So let's bring it on back to the serious side. Let's pretend that we are sitting on a plane and you lean over my shoulder, Shelley, and you see that I have the BCD TripSource app up on my phone, and you're like, oh, wow, there's one of our customers actually using a BCD tool, and you lean over and you say, BCD, huh? I'm from Advito, and they go, what's that? Is that BCD or is that Advito? Like, what is that? How would you explain that to me as your co-passenger?
Well, the first thing I'd do is I would be stupidly excited about seeing you using TripSource, because within our team I have managed to create the reputation for myself of being the TripSource geek of the team, because I think it's a fantastic tool, and I talk a lot about TripSource, so I would be very excited to start with. But in terms of explaining how Advito and BCD work together, I talk about the relationship that we have with BCD clients and the fact that we offer a consulting service to BCD clients. So I'd ask the person sitting next to me which company it is that they work for, and I talk to them about what we do from a traveller engagement perspective in terms of any communications that they may have seen, from an email through to something on a digital screen in their office, through to even a poster on the back of the elevator that talks about their travel program, that talks about TripSource, then that's probably come from us. So I'd use it as a way to explain to them kind of the breadth of communications that we deliver, and then talk a little more about how Advito offers a much broader range of consulting services to support BCD, as well as Advito can obviously be a standalone business in its own right in terms of bringing in their own clients that aren't necessarily BCD clients, but ultimately we're very closely associated with BCD. We work with many of the BCD clients, and obviously we promote and endorse all of the BCD tools like TripSource.
Super cool, Shelley, and I know that you have a lot of sharp people. In fact, Advito has just grown so much since I've been with BCD here over the last 6-7 years. What is your biggest joy working in that organization? And is that your whole story? Did you start there? Did you start somewhere else? Maybe you can connect those dots.
Yeah, so you're right. There are some fantastic people, and I feel very lucky to be able to work with some really talented people, some really switched on people. And my journey in Advito has been joining as a consultant about 18 months ago, and now progressing to senior consultant within this team. And I suppose my biggest joys really of working in Advito is that it feels like a very dynamic entrepreneurial business that's part of something much bigger. And I think that's really rare to find that mix of the being able to be that dynamic and agile whilst being part of something really well established as well. So that I find really exciting, and the ongoing development and introduction of new practice areas, new services. We never stand still, and I know that that can sometimes be tiring and can sometimes be hard to keep up with the pace with all the change, but it's super exciting, and there's so much happening in the industry at the moment that gives us enormous opportunity to grow and develop as a business. And we're offering services that many of our competitors just aren't touching at the moment. So we've got some amazing clear white space that we can really jump into and really carve out an amazing niche for ourselves and an amazing profile in being able to offer these really valuable services to clients that just aren't available anywhere else at the moment. It feels like a really exciting and innovative place to work.
That is marvelous. Let me come down a little granular with you at the moment, Shelley, because I know that many of our listeners, myself included, we all struggle with the fact that there's so much information, there's so much change, there's so much dynamic pieces to this industry. How do we, as individual contributors and teams, capture it all? Maybe you can share some light. You said that development and just learning new things. How do you do that in your Advito team?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because there is so much going on out there, and it is really difficult to keep on top of everything. Something that we as a team do, and we try really hard to keep on top of this, is that whenever there are industry announcements, industry webinars, the stuff that comes out every week in all of our BCD news updates, we as a team always try to make sure that there's somebody attending a webinar and then providing feedback to the rest of the team. So we will have a team call, so Great. I'll share it on the team call, but what I'll also do is post it in our team group on Chatter. So if there's a slide deck that I've managed to download and any key points, then I'll write a short report, share it on Chatter, and then share it with the team verbally and take them through it. And then normally what we'll do after that is we'll look at any key learnings that have come out of that and how we can physically apply that to a client situation. So based on what I've learned, what can I do with my clients to bring that learning into action, to actually have a tangible impact with the client, as well as just the broader understanding. And so we all work really hard as a team to make sure we're all keeping an eye out for things that crop up. And we make sure that somebody jumps on everything and then collectively shares it with the team, because there's no way all of us can be on everything that's going out there. It's just not possible. So we try and spread the love in terms of industry updates and general news to make sure that we're all keeping on top of it as best we can.
What's really fascinating about that, Shelley, is you as an Advito group and team have successfully put into practice what we from the learning teams here at BCD are trying to promote, which is the 70-20-10 model. The idea that 10% is the information, then you get on a call, which is the 20%, the peer-to-peer interaction, but purely then it's how do I take that peer-to-peer interaction and implement it, which is the 70%. So that's really cool to see that you as a team are organically doing that and finding some success in sharing the information. So good job. Way to go, Advito. Shelley, what do you foresee in the future? Maybe you can share, project for us what's happening for Advito and where do you want to go with your service?
Almost less is more. And what I mean by that is I think we're going to end up going much more down a route of personalization and customization. And I think people are getting tired of having thousands of results and thousands of things to choose from. What people want is for you to know me, to understand me, and to talk to me. And that means tailoring choices for those people and using data and insight to help inform those decisions and to help create that journey for that traveller or that client to go through, by almost taking away the need for them to have to do any sort of sorting and filtering themselves. Just give them what they need, give them what they want, and stop them having to look in lots of different places for information. So I think in a broad sense, that personalization, customization, less is more, I think that's where we as a business are probably going to look to focus as the industry generally starts finding ways to give travellers just really serving up what it is they need to help them make the best decisions.
when you were speaking before about the intricacies of understanding theories and influence of human behavior to move clients and to move the people you influence closer to what you need, do you have any like savvy techniques, maybe one or two savvy techniques that you've picked up in the last few years that you could share with our listeners to maybe try on during their day?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, a couple of tactics that we've started employing in many of our communications. So previously we would talk about how you can save more if you do X. So if you book in advance, you will save more money. Actually, people generally, we are driven by loss much more than what we can save or what we can benefit from. So by changing our language and by talking about what there is to lose rather than what there is to gain, you see a dramatic uplift in compliance because people are more driven by the potential loss. And this is played out in studies the world over where people try all different sorts of things. And I was an example that I read recently was that there were a group of students at a university and 50% of them were given a mug with the university logo on it, and 50% of them were not given a mug. The 50% with their mug were asked how much would they sell it for, and the 50% without were asked how much would they buy it for. And across all of the studies, across all of the university campuses, what happened was that in every situation, those students who had the mug wanted to sell it for twice as much than what the other students wanted to buy it for. So once you've got something, you don't really want to lose it, even if it isn't that valuable to you. So finding ways to communicate what there is to lose is a really powerful tool to drive people towards a particular behaviour. The other thing is social proof, and what that relates to, you can look at this in a couple of ways. So for instance, if you're shopping on Amazon and you want to buy, I don't know, a lemon squeezer. I bought one of those recently. So you want to buy a lemon squeezer and there's two identical products on there, priced the same, but one of them has 3 reviews and one of them has no reviews. You're far more likely to buy the one that has reviews, even though everything else is exactly the same, but you want to be sure that you're buying the right product and you want some reassurance from others that you're doing the right thing. And we all think we're individual, we all think that we have our own mind and we make our own decisions, but we are very much driven by herd behaviour. And we do like to do things that other people do, even if we don't realise we're doing it. So for instance, an example in a communication perspective is, again, if we can educate people on how many people are doing the right thing, people are more likely to follow suit and do the right thing. And again, there are many examples of this where signage is put up saying, highlighting how many people are getting on a train without purchasing a ticket and how much it's costing the business. Actually, all that's doing is it's making people think, well, everybody else is doing it. It doesn't matter if I don't buy a ticket. If you change the message and say 80% of people are boarding this train with a valid train ticket, you're far more likely to drive the desired behaviour of people buying a ticket, because subconsciously we want to be part of the crowd. We want to feel safe. And I don't know, maybe it goes back to being cavemen, and we want to feel like we're connected to others, and we don't want to be the one on the outside who's doing potentially the wrong thing. And from an example, if you apply it to, let's get back to travel. If you're staying in a hotel, how many times have you seen that little sign in the bathroom that says, don't forget to reuse your towel? There was a study done where signs were changed in hotel bathrooms to understand this concept of social proof. And they did a number of trials where they looked at the different messages and what impact it had. And they started with, you can help save the environment, don't wash your towel every day. And they moved right through to their final message, which ultimately had the biggest impact, which talked about 80% of the people who have stayed in this room reuse their towel. So that gives you a great sense of how we think, oh, well, if they did it, I better do it as well. I don't want to go against the rule. So finding ways that you can highlight how many people are doing the right thing will help to drive other travellers and other people in that direction. So we're using it, for instance, going back to TripSource, my geek fest, we're using clients to say, more than 10,000 colleagues have already downloaded TripSource. Why don't you download it now? So rather than saying you haven't done it, we're telling them how many other people have. To try and encourage them to do it as well.
Wow. What a really in-depth, you are completely at a different level in terms of the intention behind what you're pushing out. Well done, Shelley and team. Shout out to everyone in Advito that's pulling in the great whys behind the whats.
Absolutely.
Shelley, as an individual contributor at BCD Travel, how can we best support you, your team, and Advito?
Oh, that's a good question. What would be lovely if following this kind of people just reach out and want to know more about traveller engagement and what it is that we do, because we've got some great people, we've got some amazing services, we've got some fantastic case studies. So that open channel of communication to really share with people what we bring to the table would be great, just to help raise awareness of what we can do, because we believe our services really enhance the BCD offer. So if we can help to grow that, that would be fantastic.
Shelley, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today, and thank you for giving us different insights. I don't believe we've ever had an episode with so much research and human behavior talk, so I know that definitely floats my boat or spins my wheels, and I'm sure it will for many of the listeners. Shelley, I, with your permission, will include all of your contact information should people have further information or questions that they want to drive at you in the show notes. But for right now, we're going to close out our time together with our speed round. 5 rapid questions coming at Shelley. Are you ready? And I'm going to be impressed if you can tie research to these questions. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. You ready for this?
Let's go.
Great. Question number 1. If you could be on any TV show right now, which TV show would you choose to be on?
Oh, MasterChef.
MasterChef. Question number 2. If you could only speak one word today, what would that word be?
Please.
Question number 3. Would you prefer to look like a potato or feel like a potato?
Feel like a potato.
Awesome, you're doing great. Question number 4, final random one. What is the last leftover box that you put into your fridge? What was in the leftovers?
Salmon and rice.
Good for you, Shelley. Way to stay healthy. And as we close out every single podcast, I'm going to ask the same question we ask, which is, what is the favorite part about working at Advito/BCD that you love?
Oh, the people, without doubt, the people. So the team at Advito, the team at BCD, and the amazing clients that we work with.
Shelley, Fletcher-Bryant, it's been a pleasure having you on. And for all of our listeners, hopefully you got schooled up today to know that you need to level up your intention and put a bit more why behind your what. And we all look forward to seeing you next week on A World of BCD. Thanks for tuning in.